Welcome to the Plan Commission for June 16. I'd want to ask people in the audience to turn off their cell phones. If you have not been here, the procedure is that the Plan Commission takes up each item. The Plan Commissioners ask technical questions, and I will ask for no opinions, please, at that point. And then we turn it to the audience, where you have an opportunity in the audience to say anything you'd like on that topic. We bring it back to the Commission, and the Commission takes a vote. And we go on to the next item. So call the roll, please.
David Borsak.
Present.
Ed Bowen. Jeffrey Tomes.
Here.
Thomas Wojtek. John Hintz.
Here.
Steve Cummings.
Here.
Kathleen Propp.
Here.
Gary Gray.
Here.
Donna Laurie. Robert Weigert. Carl Nollenberger.
In attendance.
You have the June 2nd meeting minutes. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. First item is grant private utility easement at 1975 West Snell Road.
Thank you. The Department of Public Works is requesting the granting of an easement to Wisconsin Public Service along the west lot line of the existing city property at 1975 West Snell Road to provide electric service to the future Snell West lift station, which a conditional use permit was approved for in December of 2014. Here is a aerial photo of the subject sites. It's located on West Snell Road between Stearns Drive and Omni Drive. And this site it currently houses the below-grade Fountain Avenue pump station, and it is the future home of the Snell West lift station. Public Service will need an easement along the west lot line of this property to install a primary electric line and transformer for the sanitary lift station. And here's the easement documents. The proposed easement area would be 12 feet wide, starting in the northwest corner of the lot and running 130 feet to the southwest corner of the lot. There's also a 6-foot by 14-foot bump out for a utility pedestal, and the easement is necessary so that WPS may have access to and serve the facility. And the Department of Public Works reviewed the proposed easement and reported that the easement will not conflict with city utilities, and the Department of Public Works will coordinate with Wisconsin Public Service to have appropriate easement documents signed and recorded at the Winnebago County Register of Deeds. And staff recommends approval of the granting of the proposed private utility easement as requested.
Technical questions? Jeff?
Why does the easement have to run the full length of the property? Is the pump station all the way back at the back end of the property?
Would you like me to
James,
address that, Kathy?
certainly.
James Robbie from Public Works. The reason that the easement has to run the full length to the back, the transformer pad that will be servicing the building will be located in that southwest corner about where that bump out is. So in order to get from the street back to the transformer pad, and then have room to work around that transformer pad, because Wisconsin Public Service will own the everything from the street all the way to the transformer pad, and including the transformer. Once it leaves the meter and heads toward the building, then it will become the city's.
James, the bump out there is to allow the underground utility to go all the way up to the pad itself?
Yeah, where that bump out is where the pad-mounted transformer will be, and then the rest of the space to the south is so that, you know, they can get all the way back there, and if they have to park a vehicle to the south of that transformer pad to be able to service it, they've got adequate space to be able to do that.
Are they going to put a road in there? Is it, I mean, like a gravel access then?
No, that's intended to be grass, and you know, obviously if they have to access during a wet weather event, they would probably just use our driveway then instead. But typically, you know, where their facility is going to be, the electric and everything, we're trying to get it to there.
Okay, thanks.
Gary?
Yeah, what's a utility pedestal? I mean, what's the function of it, and how big is it?
It's actually a pad-mounted transformer. It's not just a pedestal like you would see. You know, the telephone company has pedestals that are like 8 inches square on the lot line. This is actually a transformer, and a pad-mounted transformer will be placed there in order to convert the power to something that the pump station needs.
And how high approximately is it, or how wide? I mean,
The transformers are usually only about 2 to 3 feet above ground. I'm not sure the particulars of this one. You know.
Okay. I think I just wanted a rough understanding of what it
Okay.
is. Thank you.
Other technical questions? If not, thank you, James. Anyone here from the audience to speak on this item? Utility easement. Okay, back to the commission.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Nolenberger,
Aye.
Orsak,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Holmes,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
Prop.
Aye.
Carried 8-0.
Next item, official mapping for a storm drainage detention area at the West 2700 block of Clairville Road in the town of Algoma.
Thank you. The Department of Public Works is requesting an official mapping action. Up on the screen, I have a existing land use map of the subject area outlined in blue. Subject site is approximately 59.13 acres in size of mostly undeveloped land or agriculturally used land, adjacent to the Oshkosh city limits to the south and across the street on Clairville Road. Official mapping is a process in which a municipality can designate or reserve areas for specific public uses or for future acquisition and development. Once these lands are officially mapped, those areas are essentially treated as public right-of-way from a setback perspective, and no building permits can be issued for any type of new construction within that officially mapped area, besides from specific permission granted by that local municipality. The next map I have is the 20-year comprehensive land use map, again showing the proposed official map area, and the yellow portion the comprehensive plan recommends for residential land use, and to the south we have industrial proposed land use, and again to the east recommending for residential land uses. The official mapping, I'm going to go to the next slide here. The official mapping affects 2 parcels currently located in the town of Algoma, Zone D city expansion area. The site is just west of Clairville Road along the right side of the map here, approximately a half-mile north of West Waukee Avenue. Of the 2 parcels, 37.2 acres is located on this parcel on the west side, about the western 2/3 of the property, owned by Carol Neubauer. This parcel's exclusively used for agriculture with exception of Sawyer Creek, which runs through the northwest corner of the property and which matches the proposed mapping area. The eastern and remaining 21.89 acres owned by Case Bambauer, located along here and with a connection over to Clairville Road. As you recall, at the last meeting, the Plan Commission approved a 3-lot CSM and recommended approval for a zone change. The northern half of Ms. Bambauer's property being rezoned to A1 ETZ, and the southern half being rezoned to R1 ETZ. And Ms. Bambauer's intent was to sell off proposed Lot 1 over here for another single-family development. As designed or as proposed, the official mapping won't have any effect on her intentions of selling off Lot 1 for future residential development. Since 2007, Public Works has been working with their engineering consultant, Strand Associates, to implement recommendations within the Sawyer, or recommendations for stormwater improvements within the Sawyer Creek Stormwater Management Plan. Thus far, while the original plan recommended for acquisition of the West Haven Golf Course, you can go to this map here, it's kind of hard to see. This next map shows the Sawyer Creek drainage basin. The original plan called for acquisition and utilization of the West Haven Golf Course, but that option was taken off the table, leaving Public Works to seek other suitable locations we make up that loss that would have been part of stormwater detention within that basin. This map shows a couple of years ago the James Road Basin located right off of State Highway 91, and over here is the proposed mapping action before you today. Some of the criteria Public Works used to identify suitable sites include the preservation of the developable land along the existing roadways, so that's why it's set back from Clearville Road about a quarter mile. Preservation of the potential storage volume of lands, earthwork requirements, and proximity to available fill and disposal sites, conflict with electrical transmission lines, conflict with the proposed west side arterial corridor, and separation from existing roadways, and the trying to minimize the number of parcels impacted. Based on the analysis, Strand and the Department of Public Works identified these two parcels for the mapping. Work is currently on its way with Strand to update the Sawyer Creek Stormwater Management Plan, which will incorporate all the work that's been done to date since 2007. Once this new update is completed, hopefully by the end of this year, Public Works will have a better idea of the true extents and if this site will adequately meet the needs to help with the stormwater management or the revised management plan. And at that time, there may be it may be necessary to amend the proposed official mapping area, but they want to preserve this land as is as soon as possible to prevent development on this land. Construction of the basin has not been scheduled to date. It's anticipated it will be included in the upcoming capital improvement program within the next few years for land acquisition, engineering, and construction. So staff is in support of the official mapping action as requested.
Technical questions, no opinions, please. Jeff.
I got two questions. First of all, if the Department of Public Works and Strand Associates are in process of evaluating the Sawyer Creek Retention Basin yet this year, why are we taking mapping action now rather than wait until that study is completed? What's the hurry? I mean, we've had this process since 2006, and we didn't map this area. I mean, obviously, we known we couldn't use West Haven for quite a while. Why haven't we mapped it until right now? That doesn't make sense to me.
We have continued to update the analysis of the Sawyer Creek watershed and analyzed several possible locations to replace the West Haven storage that was removed from the plan. Based on those analyses and the updates to that model, that is why we are proceeding with this site at this time. The further updates to the modeling that Jeff mentioned are going to refine the scale and scope of what is needed here.
So it's going to refine this particular issue, or it's going to refine the entire Sawyer Creek Basin issue?
It will refine both. We've done several analyses looking at several alternative locations to replace the 200-plus acre feet of storage that were lost with the exclusion of the West Haven Golf Course, and that analysis has resulted in this location. The further updates to the model and the refinement of the entire plan will look again at, making sure that, with this, are we meeting our goals, or do we still need to look at doing even more work to meet the goals of the watershed?
All right, then I'm assuming then, based off what you said, what I'm assuming is that this particular property at this time is still an integral part of the solution of the Sawyer Creek water basin, and that's why we're mapping this today.
Correct.
All right. My second question then happens to do where staff is, the comprehensive plan says this is a residential development. It's suitable for residential development. I'm not sure why then that this stormwater basin would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. This particular water basin has nothing to do with alleviating the flooding on this property. It's more downstream property.
Correct.
Can you
Well,
explain that?
Yeah, just like sanitary sewer, water, storm sewer lines, part of residential development is stormwater control. And, staff's in the opinion that stormwater mitigation is part of residential development.
Regardless of whether it's on that property or not, what I'm getting at is the comprehensive plan says this particular property is conducive to residential development. Stormwater retention is for more alleviation downstream, not necessarily this particular residential property. Even though, any kind of development of this residential property would have to have some stormwater.
It's just another part of, it's part of the infrastructure. I mean, we have streets that are recommended residential on the land use plan. I mean, it's just another segment of public infrastructure.
But again, what I'm asking is it really truly consistent with the comprehensive plan for this particular property that's identified as residential to be water retention? Is that consistent with the plan? I don't want to necessarily make a statement that says it's consistent with the plan.
For this particular property.
One point, if you look at our zoning code, within the zoning ordinance in the, say, an R1 or residential district, we allow such uses as this in those districts. So from that standpoint, would it be consistent if we came through, we zoned this R1, they wanted to come back and put a public institutional use like this within a residential district, it would be consistent with the zoning ordinance.
And our comp plan would have said that this would be appropriate for R1 zoning.
What we do is we take the zoning code, kind of implements what's in the comp plan, so they kind of both go hand in glove, and I think because it's a public, it's one of those institutional, public institutional uses, it kind of, we allow such things in those districts all throughout the community because it's a community need. Okay. So probably when it starts to talk about the cultural or we have a, what's the element, what is infrastructure? Mm-hmm. We have a whole element devoted to something like that where we have to provide for that. So yeah, I would say it's consistent.
All right.
Yeah, it's following the same model that we used for the James Road Basin. The city attached that land of the basin. We brought it in with an R1 zoning. So this is following a similar model that we used for that basin.
Okay, somebody else, technical questions, anybody? Okay, now it's time for the audience to speak on this issue. Is there somebody that would like to speak on this issue of the James Road, yeah. Clairville Road storm basin?
Is it a question that I could, or is it a comment?
Either one. If you come to the microphone over here, the podium, then give your name and address.
My name is Mary Clems, 4676 County Road E. The land in question is, it says it's Carol's, but it's all of ours. So it belongs to Rick Clems and Carol Neubauer and Angie Sewell. My question is, then when would this be taken? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is how long is this process?
The timeline hasn't been set yet, I believe, James, or?
No, it has not yet. We're scheduled to complete the updates to the plan.
TV here.
Can you hear me all right, or?
I don't know. Do you have other questions? And then he can come up. Why don't you ask them, and then he'll come up and answer all of them together.
And then another question is, I'm not sure what this watershed all means actually, but my concern is, what does that do to the property on the other side of Sawyer Creek where currently Joyce lives? I mean, is that going to make that kind of a big pond so that it's part of her land is also then going to flood? You know where you see it goes along the creek? Her house is right, well, go down. No, that's not her house. Want me to show you where it is? It's in that big, where the trees.
Right there.
Okay, so that's her house, but the creek then continues and runs right past the house. So what is this impact going to have on her residence then? Because I don't understand what a watershed basin all means, but if that means it's a big pond and that's going to impact her, we need to know that.
That's the questions for right now. Then, James, would you?
We don't have a timeline established as of yet for the acquisition. What we would do is complete our update to the Sawyer Creek Stormwater Management Plan. We are currently working on that with Strand. I would anticipate completing that update in the next 9 to 12 months, at which point in time then we would look to start proceeding with implementing the projects that are recommended as a part of that update.
Which means begin the acquisition process. If
Correct.
We decide that.
Correct.
And could you explain what a watershed is?
Yeah, what the detention basin would do is, actually, Jeff, if you could just stay on that one with the air photo would be the most advantageous for me. What this would do is, as the creek rises in elevation, the detention basin will be constructed in such a way that as it rises, it will start to spill into the detention basin. So it will actually lower the water elevation further downstream. So where the house is located, the water elevation during flood events will actually be lowered, because the water will be going into the detention basin and being stored there. So to be, once the creek reaches a certain level of water, it starts to spill into this storage area and get stored there rather than continuing to rise and spread out across several areas that it does now. So it would be reducing the impact of water getting near that home during a storm event.
Would there be a wet basin or a dry basin?
It would be a dry basin. There may be a channel through the bottom similar to what we did at James Road. We haven't gotten into those particulars of the design yet, but generally speaking, the construction will be very similar to James Road, where it is primarily dry.
Do you have a question for him?
James.
Or?
James, it may help on clarifying. I know you don't have a time frame from it now, but once you guys decide that, yes, this works, can you tell her maybe what the time frame is? I know this has to go through CIP.
Yeah,
that typically takes a couple year cycle to get through that.
Yeah, if we complete the analysis by about this time next year, we'd be far enough along when we start preparing the 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 CIP that we would know where it would be falling. So we'll have a much better idea at that time what time the acquisition is looking at coming into play. Typically what we're trying to do with these, once we get them identified and get the finer details worked out, we try to start moving into acquisition right away, because that takes a certain amount of time, and then design and permitting takes a certain amount of time. So if we were to start the acquisition in, say, 17, we'd probably be looking at construction in maybe about 2020 to get through all of those processes. But we'd be getting to a point where we've identified the solutions as we're preparing the 17 to 21 CIP.
Okay. Actually, I have a question for you on that topic. When is it appropriate for someone like her or the actual owner, whoever that is, she said she's part owner, to come talk to Public Works about the process? I know that there's certain steps that legally have to be taken, but...
Yes, I know. I believe Steve Godey had attempted to get in contact with you. I'm not sure if he'd ever managed to get in touch with you. It was probably Steve. What we tried to do is reach out to the owners prior to this step. As we would start the acquisition, obviously if there's ever questions about, when are we planning, you can feel free to contact our office and we can give you an update on where that's at. But once we would identify it in the CIP, then we would bring an acquisition consultant on board to manage the actual acquisition, and they would be the ones that would be primarily having any negotiations with the property owner as they work through the process.
Well, I'm not talking about negotiations, I'm talking about answering the kinds of questions we're talking about now.
Yeah, if there's any time...
What's the process? When can we expect this? When can we expect that? And you've explained some of that, but it would be better if Steve Godey or the Public Works Department is legally able to talk to them like tomorrow or sometime like that, it might be better.
Yeah, they're, obviously, you know, we are very cautious to make sure we're following the requirements of the statutes when we're reaching out to property owners. Typically what we do, one of the first things we do is we start at the actual acquisition process, is there's about an 8 to 10 page flyer that's put out by the state that's entitled Rights of Property Owners during a acquisition by a municipality. So that actually outlines all the statutory rights that the property owners have as a municipality starts an acquisition process. The statutes are structured to protect the property owners, and they have a very prescriptive set of steps that the municipality has to go through in the process.
All right.
But as far as questions on timing, like I said, you know, you can feel free to contact our office, and, you know, we can give updates on where things are looking like they're falling into place.
Okay. That's all my questions. Anybody else in the audience that wants to speak on this topic? One more time, anybody else that wants to speak on this topic? Back to the Plan Commission. Discussion?
Second.
Discussion? I just have one thing. It was a bit awkward to take this up last meeting and then have this happen this meeting. But I think I see why we had to move so fast on the mapping. Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Wallenberger. Borseth.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Holmes.
Aye.
Hims.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Crop.
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Anything else before we adjourn? Dave Borsick has something.
Yes, I'd like to request staff put on the agenda the Murdoch Street, proposed Murdoch Street adjustment to see how that fits into both our view of the bicycle plan as well as the street access way, Gateway Street access way in the community. I think it's in our purview as well as the other committees that have been enumerated.
Gary?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the timing of that, so, you know, because the council has referred the issue back to at least one other committee, maybe two other committees, and I guess, you know, the commission as a third committee could do some kind of evaluation at the same time, but I don't think it's an eminent thing that the council is going to approve.
I'll just make a note, there's no action that's required of us at this point.
No, but I think there should be action. I think it's reviewable, that it should come before this committee as a reviewable action.
Well, I'll put there'll be an item on, so we can discuss it at that time.
Okay. Anything else official before we adjourn? Motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We go now into a workshop.